Now we're joined by Houston Dynamo head coach Tab Ramos. First of all, welcome to the show, Coach, and we'll start with the coronavirus and COVID-19 and ask if any of your family members or your friends have been directly affected by it. Because I know that you played in some years in La Liga, and Spain was hit very hard by the virus early on.
Fortunately for me, no. It's been quite good. I had my family here up until about 8 weeks ago, and then decided to send them back to New Jersey. So they've been there. Although that's sort of the epicenter of what's been happening. Right. I think they were in a good place there. So I felt like, and they felt like they'd be good there. So they're there. Friends or family are good. I have two older kids. One's in New Jersey. One's at school in Washington D.C. So she's good. So far so good.
All right, Coach. When we last talked was right before the first training of the season, and you were a little antsy. Even then, you were saying that you were desperate to get out on the field and under the sun and into the grass, and you got out there, and all of a sudden, it's cut off once again. But with the individual training workouts started, are you having those same kind of feelings? Are you just as excited about being back out there?
Yeah, it was great to be on the field finally today. Obviously for everyone, to be confined to such a, small space all the time. And it's been difficult for everyone, but to be able to get on the field and even smelling the grass is great, So we were really excited about that. It really worked out today.
Coach, you talk about the experience of coming back. What has been the impact for all of this? What has this taught you, or what have you learned from coaching through this pandemic? And has anything positive come out of not the pandemic itself, of course, but having these at-home exercises and now getting to meet with them in person like you did this week?
Yeah, it's been a new experience, that's for sure. And that's the one thing I told the players. Sometimes as coaches, we've been through a lot of the things they have gone through. So they, one of the things you use sometimes as part of coaching is relating to your experiences at a certain time, whether as a player or as a coach, or experiences in a stadium or in front of certain fans, or that type of thing. And that's one thing we mentioned to the players from the beginning, was that we're all new at this. So what's going to happen over the next few weeks, we didn't know at the time, is going to be new for everyone. But what I can tell you is that it's been really positive for us, because especially for me and for our staff, as being new here, having the opportunity to get to know the players personally a lot better over the last month and a half has been a tremendous advantage that we weren't starting off with. So we finish our preseason. Sometimes you have up to 35, 40 players, so you can't be so personal with each one of your players. And I think we've been able to do that now. So it's been excellent, really.
Along those same lines, I assume sometimes with the team, you don't get to know the players really completely until at the end of the season, because you go from match to match and game to game, and there's traveling, etc., a lot going on, and you have to be focused on the games. But without having games here for a while, have you been able to learn a lot more about your team?
Yeah, you kind of, in particular as a new coach, because you're so worried about the actual tactics of the team and how you're going to fit people in and players according to their strengths and weaknesses, how that's going to help you. And we've been able to now go back to sort of everyone's lives. So we've gotten to know how they grew up, what, obstacles they overcame to get here. This is the one thing in common with most of the athletes that make it to the highest level, is they've overcome a lot. Nothing's been easy for them. And that's sort of a common denominator. And just to hear the stories about who needed help from their grandma to collect money to buy their cleats, their first, that stuff. And I think that's incredibly valuable, because it really gets you to that point of knowing, I want to say how much you can push a player, but that no matter what you tell them on the field, they've been through a lot worse and a lot harder to get here. So that you can get a lot more.
Coach, whenever the open facility training for individual was announced, and prior to meeting with them this week, you had mentioned there was a level of strange, and it would be another level of strange that you would have to overcome when actually you do see them in person, and distancing yourself when coaching. How were those workouts this week?
It was, we started today and it was strange. It was strange because everybody was spread out. We're fortunate that in our facility, we have 6 fields, right, connected to our main 2 fields that we play on every day. So we were able to spread the players out in 4 separate fields. So we divided those into quadrants, and we had each player in each quadrant. So it was a little bit strange, but I can tell you that you could see it a little bit in everyone's faces. We obviously had masks on, but the players, once they get on the quadrant, they can take it off, and you could see on their faces that they were so happy to be on the grass and training and running and sweating and and doing it in such a nice environment. So it was actually great to see.
I know you were here, you were new to Houston, but you've been here for a little bit before all of this happened. Have you been able to like Houston a little bit better now without the traffic?
The problem with the traffic for me has been that as I try to find my way, Houston, as you guys know, have all these highways that, come in and out everywhere. And for me, it's been difficult to figure out where I'm going, and with all the traffic at the same time, it's been difficult. But now, I've only been out of my house 6 or 7 times in the last 8 weeks. But I've taken advantage when I go shopping for food to drive around a little bit and get to know the city better. I know on the other side, for what I had seen already in my first 4 months here, I feel like I really fit into the city. I really enjoy it. I enjoy being with the people here, and I really fit into what's happening here. So I've gotten to know the city better. I can get around better now, and I think we're in a much better place now than we were 2 months ago.
Coach, you mentioned getting to know the people and getting around town and knowing the city. How do you feel about no fans in the stands when going to play the games, when going to play the matches, when soccer does resume?
It's going to be, it'll be once again strange, but it'll be difficult for all the athletes, I think, because they're used to hearing the fans. They're used to, whether you're home or away, there's always that motivation. At home, because it's your home fans, you have to do it for them. And when you're on the road, you want to show the fans on the road and you want to make them quiet, and that's such a high, making opponents fans quiet. And not having that, I think we're going to have to dig into the fact that we know that our fans have suffered a lot by not being able to go outside and go to the stadiums. And it'll be a lot easier to dig in and say, hey, we really have to do it for them, because they'd like to be here, but they can't. And we have to dig in and make sure we make a good effort and get good results for them.
Eventually, obviously, Coach, you guys are going to get, the matches started and get back to the season at some point. Does this shutdown present any type of advantage or disadvantage for certain types of teams? Teams that have veteran players and the coaches who've been around a long time, or a team like yours where the coaches and players are still trying to get to know one another?
From a coaching standpoint, I can tell you that at our team, having a new staff, and for any other MLS team that has a new staff, having had this break is helpful because you did get to know the players better. But I think the teams, to answer your question, the teams that are going to benefit the most are the teams that are deep. 2-3 players in each position, because it's likely that if we're going to complete the season or even be close to completing the season, there will likely be a lot of Saturday, Wednesday games. And when you get into that grind, you can't play with the same 11 starters every week. So you need everyone on the roster to be successful. So the deeper teams will have a bigger advantage.
What are some of the differences between what you guys have to go through to get ready for the season when it does resume, Coach? How do you compare your team in terms of that kind of depth? What have you seen from those guys once you've seen them in training and the couple of matches that you have played? Do you feel did you guys have enough from top to bottom on the roster?
Yeah, I think we don't have as much experience at the bottom of the roster, and there's players that are likely going to play who haven't played before. I also feel like, having players like Miner and Boniek, who have been here for a long time, who are in their mid-30s, I think having that Saturday, Wednesday, when our thought already was maybe for them not to play every Saturday to save them. So now they may have to skip a couple games here and there. I think it'll put a little bit more strain at the bottom of our roster for us, which will make it difficult. But I'm always confident and optimistic. So I think if some of the guys don't have experience, they'll get it. They'll get it, and that's why they're here. They're signed to a professional contract to do the best they can, and I'm sure they will.
Now, Coach, before getting into the season and resuming those games prior to the workouts, this week. You had mentioned it taking about 4 weeks to get going and get started before you would feel comfortable playing in a match. Is that still how you feel today after seeing your guys?
For sure. I think, and it's not so much because it's a general feeling of how long you need to be together. I think it's more to limit injuries than anything else, having the players prepared to be able to be safe as they play. Because if you don't have the proper preparation, right now we started an individual training. So from here, we have to slowly graduate into small group training, and from there go into full team, hard, all out tackling. And if it's difficult for the players to go into that type of environment where you're going into games where everybody's going hard, having not done it for a while. So I think I do feel like that's sort of a little bit of a sweet spot. You need to be somewhere around 4 weeks in order to be prepared.
Now, getting back to the matches, Coach, you guys played 2 of them. They were back to back. Were you able to learn anything from those? I mean, or because they were so far ago, not much you could glean from them?
No, yeah, of course I learned. You always learn. And in particular, you learn when you lose. Yeah, because it makes you think more about what, the things that are happening. I think, obviously for a team like ours, not being as deep as some other MLS teams, not having Albert and Darwin Quintero the first 2 games, really, Darwin only came in the last 10, 15 minutes of the last game. Not having those 2 pieces are really important to us because those are 2 of our best players. So that's important for us. But at the same time, I got an opportunity to see the other guys who had a chance to play. And I know that in the transition game, we have to be much better. I know that when we're pressing a team, because one of the things that I really liked about the team, even though we lost 4-0 in that game, was the fact that we went into Kansas City, one of the most difficult environments to play in the league, and we pressed them from the beginning. So the team was not afraid to do what we wanted to do, which was we're going to go out, we're going to play, we're going to press them. And next thing you know, we're up 5-1 in shots, but we're losing 1-0. And now 15 more minutes go by and we're still pressing them. And on long balls that they basically clear, they get us on the counter, and now it's 2-0. And so there was definitely a lot of positive to the attitude the team had. And then there's some negative on how we manage those situations, because I thought that would be the easier part, is managing when other teams are on the ropes, and we couldn't manage that. And so, yeah, of course we learned from that, and we've analyzed it quite a few times since.
Yeah, you don't have much to work with, so you got to analyze that.
I tell you, it's tough to go into a break after 4-0 loss. I tell some of my colleagues, I'm like, I got to live with a 4-0 loss every day for 2 months now. You hope that the next Saturday you just make it better and you forget about that one, and the next Saturday is just not coming.
I know that night you say we're going to get rid of this one tomorrow. Well, tomorrow hasn't come yet. So.
That's right.
I understand. Were your players just kind of on to their own and their own professionalism and trying to stay in shape during this off time?
Yeah, you have to have confidence that they're doing it. I mean, I think our high performance department has done a great job in providing the apps for the players with all the exercises they're supposed to do. The players report every day. They're all training at the same time. I mean, they've been very professional. That part of it, there's really, not only is there not any complaints about it, but I really have to commend the players on the job they've done in keeping track of all their workload and everything else that they send back to us. It's really been excellent.
All right, cool. Anything else, Lauren?
I think that about wraps it up for me. All my questions are answered. I'm just ready to see some soccer and get back out on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say to the fans is that we can't wait to play for you. The players are anxious to come out on the field and put on the orange jerseys. And, whether the fans can be in the stadium or not, we'll be playing as hard as we can to deliver good results and to make the fans happy.